Go.
We'll test the QR code, Marcelo.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes just to give everyone enough time to join the call. So we will start very soon. A couple of messages from people saying they're just about to jump on, so we'll wait another 30 seconds. Okay, I think we'll start. So hello everyone and welcome. I'm Mark Clapp from Nexa, and it's great to have everyone with us today. Really appreciate you sparing the time. This session, as it's titled here, is how organizations can move from early AI experiments to real enterprise-grade co-pilots using Copilot Studio. Over the session, you can see some practical examples of how teams are designing co-pilots around real processes, connecting securely to the right data, and governing them effectively at scale. There's going to be some housekeeping, which I'm going to run through very quickly before we go into the content. The session is being recorded, and we'll share the recording and the slide deck after the session. We do have a Q&A panel as well attached to this Teams meeting, so please do, if you've got any questions, put them into there, and then as we go, we'll address them towards the end. If we don't get to all of the questions, we will obviously come back to everyone individually. And we also have a QR code, which you'll see on all the slides as we go through. If you click on the QR code or scan it with your phone, you'll be able to obviously submit a form, which then will allow us to come back to you after the session and we can open a dialogue. If you prefer not to go through a form, you can email us directly. There's an email address on the final slide of info.uk@nexagroup.com, and then we can come back to you post the session. So let me just move on to a bit of an introduction about myself. So those of you that I haven't met, I've spent the last 15 years working within the Microsoft Technology Group and around their ecosystem with a strong focus on relationship management and commercial delivery. I've worked across a range of sectors, helping customers get real value from their Microsoft investment, and whether that's modernizing systems, improving their processes that they already have in place, or unlocking new opportunities with AI and Copilot technology. So my role today really is to set the scene, guide you through the session, and then hand over to our specialist who's going to take a deeper dive into the product and the demos. So the next slide is more around some context about the organization behind today's webinar. So it's a bit of an overview in terms of Nexa and our global presence. So Nexa really is a truly international business, and we pride ourselves being where our customers are. So at a group level, we've around 2,500 employees, and that's got around 500 subcontractors in there as well, across 16 countries, with a revenue of around 3.5 billion Swedish krona in revenue. We're also part of a wider group called Denier. They have around 11,200 colleagues, and that spans across 26 countries with a revenue of around 13 billion in Swedish krona as well. Within Nexa Enterprise Applications, which is where I sit, and the team delivering Copilot Studio, Power Platform, Dynamics, and Azure, we have around 465 specialists, again supported by around 50 subcontractors. And we operate over around 8 countries, including UK, Sweden, US, Brazil, Colombia, Portugal, India, and Germany. What this means for our customers, and importantly, it's local support for teams who understand the market and the logistics and the legislations in their country. And importantly, we've got that group capability to scale solutions confidently and securely as they're required. So this blend of reach and expertise is exactly what enables us to deliver a Copilot Studio that delivers real impact. So with that, let's get started. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Marcelo, and he's going to take us through the main content. Marcelo, over to you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for the introduction. Just before I start, I think Miss has a question to address to us.
Okay.
Or no? Probably I'm mistaken.
No, maybe put it in the Q&A, Mez, if you can, and we can reach out to you during the session.
And just to reinforce what Mark said, if you have any questions, concerns, or points for discussion, add here to the chat or the Q&A that will, as much as possible, address this during the meeting. And just like Mark, just a quick introduction from my side. I've been working for the last 26 years. You can see by the amount of white hair that I have on my head, in different technology verticals, ranging from designing mobile phones, monitoring and finding patients in hospitals, producing digital maps, and more recently at Nexer, I've been embracing everything related with digital transformation, artificial intelligence, and data governance. I'm an electrical engineer. In the absence of more problems, I decided to do a master in transportation engineering, which I was able to finish last year. And I've been working with machine learning, artificial intelligence since 2017. Just coming back a couple of slides. What we plan to do over the next 50 minutes with you here. To explain what is Copilot Studio, why this is important, is just another release from a product from Microsoft, what this can change in our lives, and I'm primarily speaking in our professional lives here. Okay, so if we understand, or if we will understand what is Copilot Studio, how this can support us in terms of the experiences that we have been learning through implementations in different verticals with different customers that are going to share that later. And of course, if we have all this, and this sounds interesting or sounds promising to you, what can we do as Nexer to help you in this journey? Okay, so in a nutshell, the agenda for this afternoon will be covering what is the agent revolution, how Copilot works, what we have learned, what good and bad that we have learned about Copilot Studio, and how can we leverage that and share that with all of you. Okay, so just something that I'm pretty sure everyone is aware is that probably more or less 2.5 years ago, it doesn't sound a lot, but a lot has happened where we have, in the Microsoft environment, we have Copilot launched. And one of the questions that I like to receive a lot is Copilot ChatGPT flavor of a Microsoft product. And the best answer that I could find for that is not only, right? But indeed, and still today, Copilot is largely based on the large language model from ChatGPT. And Microsoft has rights in extensive agreement with OpenAI, but this is starting to change. So we are now seeing more and more different models or engines, if we could say that way, that are available in the Microsoft environment. In these models, they will have different prices, different skills, different abilities, and then it's up to us that is using them to identify which one is best for the usage that we have. So I just want to start with what is Copilot. So Copilot has a large language model. Copilot also has something that is very unique in the sense of products. So it has a graph database. And what is a graph database? Why this is important? It's something that has been built over the years in the cloud. It's transparent for the end user, but you have this built on your Microsoft environment. And the idea here is that I can collect all the relationship, for instance, all the projects that I have been working with Mark, if I'm interacting with Cole, what we have been doing, what we have shared in terms of message. So Graph allows us to do that. And this is very deeply embedded into all Microsoft applications. And this is something subtle, but very important to mention that Microsoft is referring to Word, Excel, not as programs as we used to call in the past, but now as applications. So a word that between cloud, mobile, and desktop, there's no boundaries. We can have a seamless experience across that. And finally, if we are training a model, this model has a cutoff date of knowledge of everything that we use to train this model. Internet allow us to keep the model updated and keep this information flowing through this. So this is Copilot, and this is what we can experience in terms of helping you with a presentation, supporting meeting notes from Teams. But what else can we do? What goes beyond Copilot? So if we start to think, now that we are interacting with these models and Copilot in specifically here, in natural language, something that is kind of unusual to realize is that English is becoming or is now a programming language. So we have, for those that like these infographics, we have a pyramid where we have machine language, only machines can understand that, is not natural to us. We started, and pretty much a lot of people that have done, have studied that in a high school, in a course, with some low-level language like C, C++. There are advancements in this part with Python, BASIC, but now effectively we can use Copilot, we can use English to do our programming. And that's something that we're gonna realize over the next slides. And why this is important? Because this is really, or essentially, a democratization of producing solutions, applications that work for us. And of course, there are some concerns, some special points that we need to take care for this to be secure, safe, and to have governance as well, that we're gonna cover over the next slides. So essentially, I spoke about Copilot, this is evolving. So Copilot, instead of being a hub or only a hub for producing knowledge, for dealing with content, like I want you to do my report, I want you to help me with this specific PowerPoint presentation. Now, imagine that I could add arms and legs to Copilot. What does that mean from a practical perspective? Imagine that Copilot now has skills, that they can perform actions, that has knowledge, that can interact with many other systems inside and outside the Microsoft ecosystem. So this is what we call an agent. So an agent is one sort of artificial intelligence, Copilot in our case, that is capable of executing actions, that has some level of autonomy and some knowledge to perform these actions. So we're going to explore this a little bit more in the next slides. I don't know if everyone here recognize this gentleman here. He is Satya Nadella, the CEO from Microsoft. And he recently, not so recently, but last year, he shared one phrase that is quite shocking for everything that we do and develop, especially in the professional environment. He said that the application layer is collapsing into agents. So let's translate what he was meaning, or what he was trying to say. He was trying to say that all the applications that we are doing today, so I have an interaction with my ERP, that could be Dynamics, SAP, anyone. So I have an interaction, front end, a user interface with this ERP. And where I select information, there are drop-down lists, I can type information. So according to Satya, in the very near future, everything, the way that we interact with machines will migrate from having this user interface into agents. So agents will be powerful enough, skillful enough to perform actions on our behalf or on behalf of the company. And this is quite very shocking. So where the ERP will be placed here, where we will end up in terms of developing new applications. So this is an information also from the end of last year, but this is quite interesting here that this gentleman on the stage, it's Charles Lamanna. He used to be the person at Microsoft that was behind Power Platform, Dynamics, what Microsoft called business application. And recently, he has been promoted to a much broader position that he's the person in charge of developing and spreading Copilot in different business and industries in the market. This is a picture from Microsoft Power Platform conference. In his opening speech was say that low code, so the application that we use to develop other solutions without writing code, typing code, this is actually dead. Something that everything that we are investing in terms of product, in terms of applications, digitalization of process, does this means that this is going to be thrown away? This is we're not gonna use that. We have to abandon everything. No, right? This is the idea is that there is a foundation in this platform that Microsoft is building, and this foundation is largely, and I'll show you in a minute, largely based on everything that is a business application, more specifically what is Power Platform. So those companies that you are investing in Power Platform, you are creating solutions, you are developing applications that can help you, this will not change. But we're gonna actually change a little bit how we see this in this architecture. So we're gonna have, in the same way that today, M365 is your interface to professional applications, so Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams. The idea is that Copilot becomes the UI for AI. So you can relate with different large language models, but you still enjoy the same features, the same functionality, the same security that Microsoft bring to this kind of solution. This is already happening. This is not a forward-thinking slide, because Microsoft has really been open to other solutions. You can bring even, for instance, Chinese models into your solution, and that allows us to have flexibility, understanding better solutions, having different approaches to the same problem. Okay, so up to now, you should have understood what is an agent and what this is important for us. Why this will bring changes. But there is actually a menu of solutions, of generative AI solutions at Microsoft. Essentially, there are 4 big flavors of generative AI solution. And for those that are, for some reason, not familiar with generative AI solution, generative AI solutions are the solutions where it's based on artificial intelligence, and I train a model to base it on one word or one question to bring you the most statistically relevant word after that. So I'm going to generate a phrase word by word based on statistics, based on the training that I have. And I'm also connected with training on these solutions. And we have a lot of people that sometimes they decide to do therapy with this artificial intelligence, which is up to the person that is doing. And sometimes you really feel that the artificial intelligence are connecting with you. It knows what you're feeling, but don't. This is purely a statistical exercise. There's no connection. There's no point in this process. But coming back to our example here, First, the beginning of this journey starts with Copilot Chat. What is Copilot Chat? It's a solution that is freely available. You can use over the web. You don't have to buy any license. What you have an experience where you can ask any question that you want for Copilot. Copilot will answer this question for you in the same way that ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini experience. But there is an important difference here. You can have a security environment, meaning that your information will not be used to retrain the model. Right? This is part of the terms of use of this solution, and this is very important if we are considering to use this solution in an enterprise or in a corporate environment, right? And I challenge you to check on other similar solutions if you have the same guarantee in this process. And you can in Copilot Chat, since there's no cost assigned to it, you can also use agents in the format pay as you go. So you pay for whatever agent, whatever process you are using. So this is the introductory. You can start using. There's no catch on the solution. But there is an important evolution here, which is M365 Copilot. And essentially, what is the difference here? The difference is that I can connect, or actually Copilot can connect with your M360 environment. And why this is relevant? Because everything that you do in terms of work, so all the projects that I've been running with Mark, with Chloe, with anyone at Nexer, I can track this. I can know, for instance, even if I have not been into a meeting, I know if I was mentioned in this meeting, if there is something for me to do, I can collect that from my email. So this is a very powerful solution. And the goal here is that we are working on personal productivity, meaning that how can I be 5% more efficient per week? How can I save 10% of my time based on everything that I do? So focus for this two solutions here is in the person, right? That's the goal that we are trying here. We also can run agents here with some small limitations, but I have more security. I have some governance, so I can understand what's happening. I have some controls on deploying this information, and I have a very good understanding about the analytics of usage. Important remark, we cannot, or Microsoft solution cannot see individual usage because this will be a privacy violation. You always get data that is aggregated. And as we are talking about people and personal productivity, this is licensed per user. So you're gonna have as many M365 licenses as you have user in your company. Okay. So now we jump into another page. We're still talking about generative AI, but now we are talking about a solution that is spread across the company, right? So if you see here, this is not licensed anymore per person. This is licensed per company. So that means that one tenant, that is the Microsoft organization in the cloud, one tenant is enough to host the solution, and you don't pay. You can have one user or 1,000 users, still you're gonna have the same licensing. What changed is that you can have either a way that you pay per message, or you have a package where you're gonna get 25,000 messages per month, right? And what you can do here, you have your choice of the model that you like to use. So it's not only OpenAI, ChatGPT, you also have alternatives. You can deploy your agents in different channels. That could be a website, it could be Teams application, it could be over the web, such as WhatsApp, it could be Salesforce. So there are a number of different channels that could support you. And of course, you have everything related with security, governance, agents, analytics in a similar fashion that you have with Copilot M365. This is still what we called a low-code solution. So you have a drag and drop of boxes. You connect that, you write formulas in an Excel fashion way, but this is still a low-code solution. The last member of this family here is called Azure AI Foundry. This is a collection of templates, agents, tools, but for the pro code developer. So you actually write code here, you connect these elements in a more deep way than before. And what is the difference here? Probably when you have a more elaborated use case, when you want to do something like using an avatar in making this avatar saying predefined text that you want that you have defined. So more sophisticated use cases. So this is effectively the solution portfolio from Microsoft in terms of generative AI. And depending on what you're doing, either looking for personal productivity or enterprise process, you're going to have a solution. Okay, so now we understood more or less what I can use, what are the blocks that I can use, and then I can have a different spectrum of agents. And these agents can be the most simple one that typically is where company starts working, retrieval of information. So imagine you have HR has a manual that wants to share with all employee, or you are an engineering company, you have many projects, many products that you want to access, or even a legal company where you have contracts and you want to retrieve information. So this is your agent. It can be something static, such as a PDF, but it can also be something dynamic, like a database, and I can pull information from my ERP and answer questions for these agents. There's an evolution where this agent can also perform tasks for me. So something that we have done is an expense management agent where I can offer my expense receipts. It processes, it generates information, and insert this information in Dynamics in a very simple way. And of course, there is the final and more elaborated one, which is about autonomy in the agent execution. And the goal here, or a very simple example, imagine you have your supply chain, you have this intense weather phenomena happening here, like it's extremely cold in Europe or US. In South America, we have heat waves that could affect and generate thunderstorms. And you want to know whenever there is something happening around the globe, I want an agent to check the weather, check my supply chain, and check if my main providers, the main companies that I work with, if they're going to be affected by any of these events. In the case this happens, I want to know what are my alternatives and elaborate a plan in a matter of hours, right? So this agent was actually something that we developed for a specific company and worked like this in terms of identifying global threats in terms of weather and position the supply chain manager with impacts and how this could work or not. Good. So now coming more to understand what can do for us and how can I test, and if this is something that it's for all size of companies or there are some limitations here. So I think the very important and piece of news here is that everyone here, either a company or individual, you are entitled to 30 days of usage of Copilot Studio. So you go to this link, you can start your trial. like most of the trials from Microsoft, there are no limitations on this one. So you have a full-fledged product with all the features. There is nothing that is removed. And actually, it's a quite interesting experience to try to see how it works. If it's complicated, what you need to do. So this is more or less the face. It's a web-based solution. In just grabbing my pen here. You can have knowledge sources. We're going to discuss this. You can have tools. You can have the channels that this is going to be deployed. So it's if you have by any chance used the Power Platform before or Power Automate, you're going to have a very similar environment, similar experience here. Even just to highlight on top of the screen, you can see here that I'm using one environment. This is our playground environment here at Nexer. It's not the very, but it is the same approach as Power Platform. And this is when I said that this is a low-code solution. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So you drag and drop boxes, and these boxes, they're gonna have different functions. They can do different things. You can insert variables. You can connect this in a very similar fashion as if you have used Power Automate. If you haven't, it's also a very easygoing experience. And when we mention what kind of knowledge, what you can bring to this agent, how this agent can help you answering the most typical use case. So you can start with your own public website. Imagine that we have some retail companies and we have customers approach them. I want to know the latest promotions, from what time it runs this restaurant. And this is a very easy way to offload traffic from the teams, from the supporting teams into something that more meaningful. But apart from public websites, you can count with SharePoint. You can count with SQL databases. You can even count with solutions that are not Microsoft. Remember that I mentioned that Microsoft is opening to other solutions and platforms as well. So you can have Salesforce, ServiceNow, and soon this is actually changing week after week in terms of adding new knowledge sources here. So just to continue, you can, if you have Snowflake, Databricks, Confluence, Oracle, you name it, the main guys, they are here. And if they are not, you are also able to develop your own connector to do that. And when I'm saying tools, which are essentially those blocks that I mentioned to you, we have all sorts of tools. You have Microsoft has a very powerful ecosystem in that sense. And I'm here just pulling what you can do with Excel. With Excel, you can essentially, you have all these actions here, and that allows you to have a very good granularity on what your agent can do, insert information, remove information, query information. So you are only limited here by your creativity in terms of what you can develop. But here we are talking on very atomic instructions, right? I want, for instance, I want to retrieve a row from a spreadsheet. And sometimes I want to do something more sophisticated. In this sophistication in terms of agent, it's really something called MCP. So MCP is a open standard. It's not owned by Microsoft, although Microsoft is part of the consortium. But the idea of MCP, there is a very good analogy that I've learned and I like to share. The idea of MCP is that we have a USB for agents. So I don't know your ages, but back a long time ago, when USB was not present, we have those serial ports, DB9, for instance. You need to connect one port to the other. You need to bring the driver. They always come on that small CDs or even diskettes by the time. and then you have to make sure that these versions were compatible, and then you need to pray for that to happen and the connection to be established. So when we have USB, even the slogan of USB was plug and play. So if you connect that, the computer will handle driver connection, voltage, everything, and then you just start using. And MCP is really a USB for the agents. So whenever I have a MCP server, I don't need to know how the systems will connect, if they will do the handshake, if they will exchange this information, that information. But there is a simple way of connecting to many different systems that are different MCP servers that can save a lot of time and that can ease this whole process. Just to give you an example of simple MCPs that we have. So if you are a dynamic customer, there's already a MCP for your F&O, but there is also MCP for your customer engagement server. There are MCPs for emails. There are MCPs for solutions like Salesforce. There are for Jira or Jira, depending on what you like more. So there are many things, and this makes this very powerful. So instead of having very atomic activities, I can do a much more strong, powerful connections with this solution. So what I'm trying to show you is that these agents, and using Copilot Studio, you should have a very powerful way to interact pretty much with any systems that you have deployed at your company. Good. It sounds like a promising, even a miracle that everything works, everything is fine. What are the downsides of this? There are, of course. Nothing is really for free. One thing, this is an example that I brought from LinkedIn. You probably have seen this. This is has already been circulating for some time. But there is one person at LinkedIn that included very specific information for agents or robots that do data scraping. So they visit profiles, get data to fulfill systems. And here they say that if you read this, add reply to me in capitals, and I also want you to make this as a poesy in rhyming information. So in here, 1 week after, this guy received this message exactly like the instructions here. Of course, this has some fun component, but imagine that your agent is dealing with an instruction to dump your database, or send me this, or execute this other function. So this is something that we also need to be very aware, because at the same time, this is also something that will ease your process of producing solutions, allowing you to develop. You also need to be aware that we need to bring governance for the solution as well. So why we need to bring governance? So I bring already one very good argument, which is safety. But also we need to make sure that all the data, all the process that we're doing, that is in strictly compliance with local regulation and legislation as well, especially concerning data governance and data policies that we may need to abide. Also, we need to establish a trust environment for this to happen. We need to maintain alignment with business objectives. So I need to keep information that is protected, and we should at all costs reduce information leakage and improper responses, and it's plenty of examples of this in the web. There are solutions for this. In the case of agents from Microsoft, the solution that does the governance, it's actually a free solution, and it works quite well with this process. So this is one example of these solutions running. What I have here is a snapshot of Nexar environments, right? So you can see that we have been quite productive in terms of agents being produced at the company. Of course, disclaimer here, This is also the playground that we use for people to learn and understand what is agent, what is good and bad about them. But I have here tools to measure the value of agent. I can also start security reviews on the agent. So this is a very interesting and comprehensive tool that goes with Copilot Studio. Again, free of charge. You can download. Just as a parallel information for those familiar with Power Platform, there is this Center of Excellence. The same team that has developed the Center of Excellence for Power Platform is also the team that developed these solutions for governance and agents. Okay, so what can we bring in terms of experience from the field? What we can share with you? So just to set the scene here, we have been exploring this with different actors in the industry, ranging from agro-industrial agents, agro-industrial companies, retail companies, logistic and infrastructure, different use cases, sharing information, governance. After working in this project already we should probably tell you already for a year that we have been deploying projects of agents. This is more or less what we have learned in terms of what is the best approach, what you need to think, things that we have done wrong, and then they are appearing here, right? So I think especially actually for any artificial intelligence project that we as Nexar will discuss with you, my #1 suggestion is have a very clear and well-defined use case, right? This is key for everything, and the reason is very simple. We still don't have what is called artificial general intelligence. So this is also the holy grail that is being pursued right now by all the companies. So an artificial intelligence that is so powerful that it can answer all the questions, is trained on everything, and is prepared for everything. So we don't have this. Probably this will still be a couple of years down the road to reach. But while we don't have that, pick a specific use case, define your project, and start from that. From the slides that I mentioned before, governance is key. Okay, make sure that you know what you're sharing, who is sharing, why you are doing that, which kind of controls you have over your agent. Remember at the very beginning when I said your English is a programming language, it works for the good things, like I'm gonna do something in English to help me, but don't be naive. The amount of good things that we can do with that is similar to the bad things or not so professional, respectful things that we could also do. So we need to be very aware about security, governance, and safety for this. Data integration is always a challenge in all this process. Make sure that your data is organized, that you know what you're doing, that there are some sanitization on that. Something that we also have evolved in terms of our own architecture is that more and more we are deploying very specialist agents in the architecture, and you have one major agent as the orchestrator of that. For instance, if we're talking about something that allows you to book a field activity or an appointment or anything, today we rather prefer to have one agent specializing in making booking and the other one controlling that, so allow us to have much more granularity, isolate issues, train that better, and control that over the solution. Of course, what we are talking here, this has a very strong psychological component. And why is psychological? We, as human beings, we are used to do things in a certain way. So I go to the office every Monday morning, I read my emails, I define my week. In agents will change that. And just like artificial intelligence or just like generative artificial intelligence, this is a major shift in the way that we are trained and used to do things. So we need to make sure that we account for change management in the process. In what I said, there are many flavors, or the spectrum is very broad in terms of agents. Understand what you need to do and pick the right agents. Don't try to go to the most complex from the very first beginning if you don't have a good use case to sustain that. Okay, so now it was an idea of what is an agent, what is important, what you can do with that, what are the potential, and what are also the limitation, and how can we help you? So essentially, we have an offer, and then you can relate it with the QR code, but you can reach us over email. That we see. And not only we as Nexer, but the whole market, everything is seeing that are major transformations coming because of AI copilots, AI agents. And at the same time, there are concerns, and I just mentioned governance, security, scaling these agents, that we already have very good solutions around and experience around that. We have a large experience dealing with Microsoft products, proven frameworks. Especially, I like this last bullet. Our idea here is that how can we reduce the risk for you to try this new technology and accelerate adoption? So with that said, we want you to understand what you can extract from Copilot Studio. How can you prioritize your business cases? How can you empower your team to do more of that? And especially, again, how can this be low risk, high value entry point for AI adoption? And from a very practical perspective, we have a package, and this package allows us to interact with you to define one use case, to share our experience, to help you configure one environment, use up to 3 data connectors, to develop a working prototype, and then having 2 workshops where we share in much more details from what I have shared here, and discuss everything that we have developed and how to transfer this knowledge to your teams. My final message here, what set us apart from the competition, we have a strong experience presence in the Microsoft ecosystem. We can not only talk about the technical sides or technical characteristics from the product, but also business experience from long years doing that. We have a structured methodology, and we have proven cases to share with you on what we have done. Mike, I think it's over to you now.
Yeah, thanks, Marcelo. Really good content in there. So looking at the Q&A, it doesn't look like anybody's posted any questions, so we've still got a few minutes, so please feel free to put some in there. I do have a question, though, that came across from a customer of mine a couple of days ago, which was around tracking performance and usage of Copilots once they're deployed. How would you go about doing that?
Okay, so irrespective if you are talking about M365 Copilot, which is Microsoft Personal Productivity Solution, or Copilot Studio, which is the solution for enterprises and business process, in both solutions, you have what we call a center of excellence. So in the center of excellence, it will change from one tool to the other, but essentially, you have everything about usage, statistics, how this process is spreading across different departments. If we are talking about agents, and just let me come back to this slide, is probably better. So here you have your whole dashboard of things that you can command. You can inventorize your agents. You can understand the value that is being generated. and you can also assess the security. There are many other things that you can do, not only this that I mentioned here, but for any of these solutions, you're going to have a very comprehensive tools process in information about how to manage and govern your Copilot solution.
Fantastic. Thanks, Marcelo. And another question was, does an organization need developers to build Copilots, or can business users do it at the same time? Obviously, that's going to come back to the governance piece in terms of who's allowed to do it within the company. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it will largely depend, Mark, on what you're trying to accomplish. So if you have someone, Microsoft called these folks the citizen developers. So what is a citizen developer? Is everyone that doesn't have a developer connected with their title. So it's the person that is on accounting, is the person that is in HR, but they have some familiarity or willingness to learn and perform some technical activities. So depending on what you're using, Copilot Studio, as I mentioned, it's a low-code solution, meaning that with very minimum training, you can, even without a developer, start enjoying the benefits. So you can ask a PDF, you can ask a SharePoint. Eventually, you can even ask a database about this information. Of course, as the use cases, they progress in complexity or things that they need to do, it will help, and I believe it will largely decrease your time to market to have more specialized resources in your team.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'll just echo that one. I mean, for those that haven't met me, I'm a solution architect here at Nexa. What's more important, I think, in here isn't having a developer skill set. It's just having a good logical thought process. So whilst I did do some development years and years ago, I basically don't do development anymore. But with Copilot Studio, and the various tools, you can deliver quite complex and feature-rich functionality without writing a single line of code. But it does require a little bit of logical thinking. So it's a bit of a depends on your mindset more than your skill set.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ian. Okay, well, we're a bit ahead of time. I see that we haven't got any other questions. So really, I'll say thank you to everybody for joining. And obviously a big thanks to you, Marcelo, for taking us through all the content today. Really appreciate it. Before we finish, again, just to reiterate, we are going to send out the recording and the slide deck. Please feel free to scan the QR code and obviously submit a form if you'd like us to reach out afterwards. Obviously, for any customers that are already working with Nexa, we'll reach out separately just to continue discussions. And again, the email address is there. So should you wish to reach out and ask any specific questions, please feel free to do so. But again, on behalf of Nexa, thank you so much for joining. Hope it was valuable. Have a great day, and we look to speak to you soon.
Thank you, everyone.